Hey, if you walk away from this conversation with no other action steps or commitments, I want you to walk away with this commitment. You will stop telling yourself that you are not a good writer. If you take no other information away from this conversation today, I would like you to walk away understanding that writing is a skill and skills are learnable. And writing in particular is a learnable skill. Now, I'm not trying to be like dramatic or anything, even though this is going to sound dramatic, but my grandma used to always say the power of life and death lies in the tongue. So we were raised to be very careful about the things that we said out loud about other people and the things that we said out loud about ourselves, because the things that you say matter and have an effect. And that's also how I think about speaking about yourself and your ability or lesser ability to do something. If your goal as a healthcare professional is to become some type of medical or health writer or to pivot into medical or health writing in some way, then continuing to speak out loud the belief that you are not a good writer is not going to benefit you in any particular way. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge that, there might be a skills gap or that there might be a learning curve that you need to overcome or some foundational skills that you need to develop. It doesn't mean being naive about the things that you do really well and the things that you might not do as well. But it does mean that reframing how you speak about your ability or the things that you need to work on matters. And so, if writing is something that you want to learn more about and you want to explore more, it's important to let go of all that stuff in your mind. All those people who might have told you 10, 15 years ago that your writing wasn't up to par, that teacher who told you that you would never be a writer and that you should, choose a major that had nothing to do with writing, like all that gunk in the past, letting go of that and figuring out what steps you need to take in order to be able to meaningfully move forward. So I went on a whole little rant before I introduced myself. If we haven't met yet, I'm Megan. I'm a public health pharmacist turned health content strategist. I run a health content marketing company called Stock Rose Creative. I am also the founder of the Health Professionals to Health Writers Accelerator, and that is a 6-month coaching program where I teach US-based healthcare providers how to replace a portion of their income through freelance health content writing specifically. And because I have been doing all of those things for so long, since 2010, 2009, so a long time at this point, I always hear from fellow healthcare providers and healthcare professionals who tell me about their interest in medical writing, health content writing, all different types of writing. But then like add that caveat that, oh, well, I'm not a good writer. Yeah, I'm actually a really bad writer. Oh yeah, I'm not that good at writing. And my question every time is, what makes you say that? What makes you believe that? Because I'm really curious to learn, like, whether this is a message that you've received from other people, from teachers, from professors. Is this something that you kind of decided yourself and created yourself? Like, where does that messaging come from? Because again, I think it's important to like let go of that if your goal is actually to become a writer. I saw a post recently, and I made a post about it, but I saw a post recently where someone said, you can't teach writing. And I was, to be honest, I was very irritated. I didn't take it personally because I don't even think I knew the person, and I'm sure they didn't know me or, intend any ill will, but they were actually a writer themselves. And they said, you can't teach writing. And I thought to myself, well, I don't think I agree with that. We all learned to write from somewhere. We didn't come out the womb knowing how to write. We didn't, for the most part, we didn't just like naturally grow into the ability to write. We were taught writing by reading teachers, English teachers, writing teachers, professors, etc. Like there are plenty of there's lots of infrastructure in education and academia in the world that is designed to help people learn how to write at all kinds of different levels. So I'm like, well, okay, there are English teachers, there are professors, so there you can teach writing. That is a thing that you can teach. Now, not everyone can teach writing, and that's how I chose to interpret what that person was trying to say, in which case 100% agree. Not everyone can teach writing. I've definitely had experiences with people, whether teachers, professors, or otherwise, who have attempted to teach writing and were just like not that effective at it. And so there is an art and a science to being able to teach someone how to write. But because writing is something that people are able to teach, that a teacher can teach, that a professor can teach, that people who run courses like me can teach. And by the way, I think I'm actually like a great writing teacher. I think that my students would say, actually, I know that my students would say the same because they tell me this, but that's also because I have experience as a professor and as a teacher, and I know how to create a curriculum that allows people to learn in an organized way, even though writing feels like something that's not like an organized skill to learn. So, in addition to the fact that people can teach writing, that means that if someone can teach it, then you can also learn it, right? If you could learn writing as an elementary school kid, as a middle school kid, as a high school kid, in a PhD program, etc., then you, as whatever adult you are right now, who's in whatever part of life you are in right now, also have the ability to learn. Now, just like learning a different language, it might be easier at a certain point in life than it is at another point in life. But that doesn't make it impossible. That just means that the way that you learn, the way that you practice, the way that you hone that skill needs to be designed in a way that meets the learning needs that you have currently as an adult. So again, two things: writing is a teachable skill and writing is a learnable skill. And that's what I want you to walk away understanding in your mind. Instead of constantly telling yourself, I'm not a good writer, maybe the following suggestions are a little bit more accurate. I haven't had many opportunities to write. Because in reality, have you? Those times when you might have heard feedback that you weren't a good writer, or that there were some mistakes or things that you needed to work on, was that like in high school? Were those the two times that you had to write a journal club article in pharmacy school or your health professions program? Like, was it those two times that you had the opportunity to write? Because most health professionals just haven't had opportunities to write. So instead of I'm not a good writer, maybe it's I haven't had many opportunities to write. Instead of I'm not a good writer, maybe it's I haven't practiced writing as an adult. Maybe you just haven't written in 10 plus years. Maybe you haven't written in 15 plus years. Maybe that's more accurate than I'm not a good writer. Maybe instead of I'm not a good writer, it's I haven't received helpful feedback that will actually help me improve my writing. So maybe it's that, okay, at face value, you wrote something that could definitely use lots of improvement, but you never received feedback in a way that would actually help you improve. You never continued to write so that you could improve over time. Maybe these are the things that are more accurate and a little bit more objective than the subjective, I'm not a good writer. So, suggestions: if you know that you are a health professional who wants to in some way pivot into medical writing or health writing, or in particular health content writing, since that is what the Health Professionals to Health Writers program focuses on, specifically health content writing. If you know that you are in that position, have that desire, but that you really don't have mastery of the foundational elements of writing, like grammar, spelling, flow, structure, just like the basics of how to write, there are things that you can do. There are resources that you can use. There are plenty of free courses that you can find on platforms like Coursera or Udemy. If you have a LinkedIn Premium account, then you probably have access to LinkedIn Learning as well, which has some free which if you have premium, which is not free, then you will be able to access LinkedIn Learning as a part of that. So those are all platforms where you can find basic writing courses. That's where I recommend starting if you really do have challenges with the foundational elements of writing. The other suggestion is reading the book on writing well. I always forget who the author is, but if you just type in on writing well, that book will come up, and it's a great one for, again, if you're like at the very beginning, you need help understanding like the foundational elements of writing. That book is a great place to start. So don't feel discouraged. Don't talk down about yourself. Don't continue to talk down about yourself. If this is really something that you are interested in and committed to, then having that negative frame in mind is not going to help you be able to move forward. Really take an objective look at what it is that has maybe prohibited you from being able to move forward in your writing goals, and then start at the basic level of making sure that you get those foundational skills up and increasing your confidence in that area so that you can start the process of, pivoting your career into medical or health writing in some way. Now, if you have mastered the foundational elements of writing, you're good with spelling, grammar, flow, punctuation, all that good stuff, and you're interested in freelance health content writing in particular, you can always join the Health Professionals Health Writers waitlist by just commenting waitlist in the bottom. And when enrollment opens for the July cohort, then we can talk about the application process, etc. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you can move forward thinking a little bit more positively and objectively about where you are in your writing,